They didn't knock. They ran through the airlock, bleeding, desperate, and not human. 4 alien women. One of them a queen. And they chose the worst possible person to save them. Because I wasn't a soldier. I wasn't a hero. I was just a cargo pilot. And the galaxy was about to regret underestimating me. The airlock hissed open with a sharp metallic sound. 4 figures stumbled inside. They were women, but not human. 2 of them were bleeding. 1 was badly injured and could barely walk. The 4th supported her, holding her upright with shaking arms. Their skin was pale blue, almost glowing under the station lights. Their eyes burned amber, bright with fear. Jake Reeves froze. Nexer 7 Station was not a place where you trusted anyone, especially strangers who arrived like this. The woman in front took a step forward and nearly fell. Her armor looked ceremonial once, but now it was cracked and scorched, blackened by weapons fire. "Please," she said, gasping for breath. "You're human. You have to be human." Jake's hand moved slowly to the sidearm at his hip. "Stay where you are," he said calmly. He had learned long ago that panic only made things worse. "I'm just a cargo pilot," he added. "Name's Jake Reeves. I haul scrap and protein packs between outer colonies. Whatever trouble you're in, it's not mine." The woman shook her head. "That is exactly why we need you." Her companions moved behind her without thinking, protective, alert, trained. Even wounded, they formed a shield around the injured woman. Jake noticed it instantly. They weren't civilians. They were warriors. "Our world has fallen," the leader continued. "The Valerian Confederacy has taken it. Every exit route is blocked. Every ship searched." Jake said nothing. "But human ships," she said softly, "are different. Trade immunity. They don't search you." Jake glanced at the injured woman. She was smaller than the others, wrapped in a torn cloak. Her face was mostly hidden. Another refugee, he thought. Another lost soul from another war. "What's so special about her?" Jake asked. The leader hesitated. Then she spoke carefully. "She is our queen. The last of the Valkorian bloodline." Jake let out a slow breath. Of course she was. "If she dies," the woman continued, "our people lose all right to resist. We disappear. Not today. Not tomorrow. But within a generation." Jake shook his head. "I'm not a smuggler," he said. "And I don't escort royalty." "We're not asking you to fight," the leader said, her voice breaking. "Just fly. Get us to neutral space. Meridian 4. The Galactic Council Station." Jake should have said no. Every instinct told him to seal the airlock and leave before whatever was chasing them arrived. This was not his war. These were not his people. Then the injured woman lifted her head. Her eyes were amber too, but darker. Almost gold. And they were tired. Not afraid. Not desperate. Just exhausted. "I have heard stories about humans," she said quietly. "That you fight for strangers. That you die for people you've never met." She looked at Jake directly. "Is it true?" Jake didn't answer. But he didn't close the door either. "Get inside," he said at last. "Stay quiet." 3 hours later, everything went wrong. "Jake," the leader said from behind him. "Valerian warship. They're hailing us." Jake looked out through the cockpit glass. A massive cruiser hung in space ahead of them, dark, sharp, dangerous. Weapons glinted along its hull like teeth. Jake's ship, the Dusty Horizon, was old. 30 years old. Held together by stubborn repairs and cheap parts. Not a fair fight. "Do they have inspection rights here?" Jake asked. "No," the woman replied. "But they won't care." Jake flipped the comm switch. "Valerian vessel," he said. "This is cargo ship Dusty Horizon, Terran Registry. Your inspection request is denied under Human Trade Protocol Article 17C. Silence. Then a cold voice answered. "You will submit to inspection or face consequences." "Negative," Jake said evenly. "You have no legal authority. We have intelligence that you are harboring fugitives. Your intelligence is wrong." Another pause. "Our ship can destroy yours in seconds." "Then do it," Jake replied. Fire on a Terran trade vessel in neutral space. I'm sure the Council will understand. Silence stretched. My emergency transponder has been broadcasting since you hailed me, Jake added. Every word recorded. Nexer 7 is listening. The warship hesitated. Then it pulled away. Behind Jake, the 4 women finally breathed again. How did you do that? The leader asked. Jake leaned back. They're bullies, he said. Bullies stop when someone pushes back. The Queen watched him closely. Something had changed in her eyes. 12 hours later, they entered the Corvin Nebula. And the Valorans returned. 3 ships this time. They're claiming pursuit rights, the leader said. They say the Queen is a war criminal. A new voice came over the comm. I am Commander Kthos of the Valerian Third Fleet. Surrender your passengers or be destroyed. Jake was silent for a long moment. Then he reached under his console. He pulled out a small metal pendant, a silver eagle clutching a star. You ran my ship, Jake said calmly. But did you run my name? What? Kthos demanded. Jacob Michael Reeves, Jake said. Former Terran Marine. Sergeant Major. Systems powered up across the dusty horizon. Hidden panels slid open. Weapons long thought removed came online. The Valerian commander went quiet. I'm retired, Jake continued. But I kept my toys. The silence returned, heavier this time. Is one refugee queen worth losing 2 ships? Jake asked. Because that's my minimum. Seconds passed. Valerian ships powering down, the leader whispered. They pulled away. The Queen stepped forward and placed a hand on Jake's shoulder. You could have told us, she said softly. Didn't matter who I was, Jake replied. Only what I did. Ahead of them, the stars opened into clear space. Meridian 4 waited. And the galaxy had just learned something dangerous. Never underestimate a human cargo pilot. The moment the Valerian ships pulled back, no one spoke. The dusty horizon drifted forward, engines steady, lights dim. Outside the cockpit, the Corvin Nebula swirled like a living storm, blue and violet clouds charged with energy, blocking sensors and swallowing signals. Jake Reeves kept his eyes on the controls. Behind him, the 4 Valkorian women stood in silence. The danger had passed for now, but everyone knew it was only a pause, not an ending. They will come again, the leader said quietly. Her name was Mira, head of the Queen's Guard. The Valorans do not forget. Jake nodded once. I know. The Queen remained near the cockpit doorway. She had said little since the standoff, but she watched Jake with deep focus, as if trying to understand him piece by piece. You were a soldier, she said at last. I was, Jake replied. Not anymore. But you still fight. Jake did not answer. He guided the ship deeper into the nebula, following a narrow, safe path marked on old Terran maps. Few pilots used these routes now. They were dangerous, unstable, and unpredictable. Jake liked that. Mira, the Queen said softly. How long until Meridian 4? 12 hours, Mira answered. If nothing else happens. Jake almost smiled. 6 hours later, the ship shuddered. Warning lights flashed across the cockpit. Power fluctuation, Jake muttered. Nebula interference. The engines coughed, then stabilized, but not fully. What does that mean? Mira asked. It means we're slower now, Jake said. And louder. The Queen closed her eyes briefly. They will find us. Yeah, Jake said. They will. He tapped a control and brought up a star map. There's a station ahead, he said. Old mining platform. Abandoned. If we dock, I can mask our signature. Is it safe? Mira asked. No, Jake replied. But it's better than floating blind. The station emerged from the nebula like a ghost. Broken lights. Twisted metal. Old docking arms frozen in place. No power. No life signs. Jake maneuvered carefully and locked the ship into an auxiliary bay. Everyone stay inside, he said. I'll check the systems. Mira moved instantly. I'm coming with you. Jake looked at her, then nodded. They moved through dark corridors, weapons ready. The station was silent, but silence could lie. Jake reached the control room and began rerouting power. The ship's engines dimmed, its heat signature fading. For a moment, it worked. Then Mira's communicator chirped. Movement, one of the guards whispered. Multiple contacts. Jake swore under his breath. They followed us, Mira said. Of course they did. The station shook as a distant explosion echoed through the metal walls. They've started firing blind, Mira said. They're trying to flush us out. Jake thought fast. There's an old cargo rail running through the station, he said. Leads out the back. If we detach and ride the magnetic pole, we can slingshot out of here. Mira stared at him. That's suicide. Jake shrugged. Only if we stay. Back aboard the dusty horizon, alarms wailed. The Queen stood calmly at the center of the cargo hold, her guards forming a tight circle around her. They are coming, one guard said. Yes, the Queen replied. But so is hope. Jake slammed into the cockpit and sealed the hatch. Everyone hold on, he said. This is going to be rough. Valerian interceptors burst through the nebula behind them, weapons blazing. Energy fire tore through the station, lighting the clouds like lightning. Jake released the docking clamps. The ship dropped. Gravity twisted. The cargo rail's magnetic field grabbed the dusty horizon and hurled it forward at impossible speed. Jake fought the controls, sweat on his brow. Come on, old girl, he whispered. A Valerian ship followed too closely. The magnetic surge ripped it apart. Another interceptor fired, grazing the dusty horizon's hull. Sparks flew. Systems screamed. Hull breach. Mira shouted. I know. Jake snapped. He flipped a final switch. The last remaining military system activated, one shot only. Jake fired. The pulse slammed into the lead interceptor, disabling it instantly. The remaining Valerian ship hesitated. That hesitation was enough. The dusty horizon broke free of the nebula and jumped. Silence. Stars stretched into long lines, then snapped back into place. Meridian 4 filled the viewport. Jake exhaled slowly. Behind him, the Queen sat down for the first time since Nexer 7. They had made it. The Galactic Council station was chaos. News spread fast. A Valkorian queen. A human pilot. A Valerian pursuit. By the time the dusty horizon docked, diplomats, guards, and reporters waited. The airlock opened. Queen Ather stepped forward, no longer wrapped in rags, but dressed in simple, clean clothes. She did not look powerful. She looked unbroken. Her people rushed to her, tears flowing freely. Jake stayed back. This was not his moment. But the Queen turned. She walked back to him. Jacob Reeves, she said, her voice clear. You defied an empire for people you owed nothing. She took his hand. My people will remember. Jake shook his head. I was just doing my job. No, she said gently. You were being human. She released his hand and turned to the crowd. Jake walked back to his ship. A council official called after him, offering rewards, medals, credits. Jake waved him off. I've got cargo to deliver. The dusty horizon lifted off quietly. Another run. Another jump. Just a cargo pilot. But somewhere in the galaxy, an empire had learned a hard lesson. And a queen had found her last hope. The dusty horizon drifted away from Meridian 4 without ceremony. No music. No escort. No final speech. Just an old cargo ship sliding back into the dark between stars. Jake Reeves sat alone in the cockpit, hands resting lightly on the controls. The ship's systems were calm now, humming in a familiar, comforting way. Outside the viewport, the stars looked endless and uncaring. That was how Jake liked it. Behind him, the cargo hold was empty. The Valkorians were gone. The Queen was safe. The crowds, the cameras, the council, all left behind. It should have felt like relief. Instead, it felt like quiet. Jake set a course toward the next colony. Another delivery. Another ordinary job. Just like he told everyone. Just like he told himself. At Meridian 4, Queen Ather stood before the Galactic Council. She was no longer weak. No longer hiding. Her shoulders were straight. Her voice was steady. Her golden eyes burned with purpose. She spoke of invasion, of occupation, of families lost and cities burned. She spoke of laws broken and treaties ignored. And she spoke of a human cargo pilot. Not as a hero, not as a weapon, but as proof. Empires believe strength is only ships and guns, she said. They believe fear lasts forever. They are wrong. The council listened. Some out of duty, some out of fear, some out of respect. Across the chamber, Valerian observers watched in silence, their faces cold. They had lost their prize. Worse, they had lost control of the story. That frightened them more than weapons ever could. Far from the council chambers, the Valerian Third Fleet regrouped. Commander Kthos stood alone on his command deck, staring at a star map that no longer made sense. One human, one old ship, one refusal. That was all it had taken to unravel a perfect operation. They will talk about him, one of his officers said quietly. The humans, the smaller worlds, the ones watching. Kthos clenched his jaw. Yes, he said. They will. And that is dangerous. Weeks passed. The story spread. At first, it was just a rumor in spaceports and trade lanes. A human cargo pilot stood up to a Valerian fleet. Then details followed. He invoked trade law. He bluffed warships. He revealed a past no one expected. He walked away. Human traders began refusing inspections more often. Smaller species started questioning Valerian authority. Neutral systems became less cooperative. Not openly, not loudly, but enough. Empires noticed patterns. And patterns scared them. Jake Reeves felt none of it. He landed on a dust-covered moon and unloaded crates of machine parts. He refueled at a forgotten station and slept in his cockpit chair. He listened to old Terran music and drank bad coffee. Normal life. That was the plan. Then the message arrived. No sound. No priority alarm. Just a quiet text on a diplomatic channel he hadn't checked in years. Jake frowned and opened it. When we reclaim our world, there will be a place for you. Not as a soldier. Not as a hero. As a friend. The door will always be open. He read it once. Then again. Jake leaned back and stared at the ceiling. 5 years ago, he had closed a folder labeled personal and never opened it again. He saved the message there. Then he shut the folder. Not because he didn't care, but because caring made things complicated. On Valkyria's occupied surface, resistance cells lit up. Not because of weapons shipments. Not because of secret armies. But because hope returned. The Queen lived. The bloodline survived. And somewhere in the stars, a human pilot had proven that empires could be challenged. Small acts multiplied. Workers slowed production. Patrols vanished. Information leaked. The Valorans responded with force. But force could not erase belief. Months later, Jake's ship passed near a contested system. His sensors picked up a skirmish, small ships, outdated weapons, desperate fighters. Jake hovered his hand over the controls. He told himself it wasn't his problem. He told himself he was done. Then he sighed and adjusted course. Just a look, he muttered. The moment his ship appeared, the fighting paused. Human registry. Human transponder. The opposing fleet withdrew. Jake never fired a shot. He never spoke a word. The dusty horizon drifted away again. But the message was clear. Across the galaxy, someone started calling him something new. The Last Hope pilot. Jake hated the name. Too dramatic. Too loud. Too much like the past. But he could not stop it from spreading. He also did not try very hard. 1 year later, a Valerian patrol commander hesitated before stopping a human freighter. A council vote passed by a narrow margin. A resistance world held longer than expected. And on a quiet cargo route, an old ship jumped to hyperspace. Jake Reeves watched the stars stretch and vanish. He thought about the Queen. About the guards who never stopped standing between danger and their people. About the moment he almost closed the airlock. The galaxy was vast. Cold. Unforgiving. But it was not empty. And sometimes, Jake realized, it didn't need armies. It needed someone ordinary. Someone tired. Someone who would say yes when it mattered. The dusty horizon vanished into the dark. cargo pilot, former ghost, accidental symbol. And somewhere far behind him, an empire adjusted its plans. Because one human had reminded the universe of something it liked to forget. Humanity does not always conquer. Sometimes, it simply refuses to step aside. And sometimes, that is enough. If this story made you feel something, if you felt respect for a human who refused to kneel, then you already understand what HFY truly means. Humanity is not strong because it conquers. Humanity is strong because it stands, even when starving. If you believe in stories where humans rise without begging, where dignity matters more than fear, then this channel is for you. Backhand index pointing right, like this video to show that these stories matter. Backhand index pointing right, subscribe so you don't miss the next moment where the galaxy underestimates humanity and regrets it. More HFY stories are coming. Stronger, deeper, unforgettable. Because humanity does not ask for permission. See you in the next story. Milky Way Fire.